that he does the unimaginable.
Oh God, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I do. Let's go. Ah! Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Caspersight, mate. How the devil are you? Today, we've got something slightly different. It's Freaky Deaky. Have you ever had, or do you know anybody who's had an imaginary friend? Do you still have an imaginary friend that you just cannot let go? Well, this was sent to me by Fencers Dogpoop20 at Dogpoop20. Nice name. On Twitter. Alright, thank you so much for sending me the link, mate. This is a video from Bizarre Bub, okay, and it's called Imaginary Friends. And this is about, well, imaginary friends. It's just been sent to me, okay? And it's intrigued me, these imaginary friends. I've never had an imaginary friend. I've never had one. So, I don't think I have, unless I grew out of it. I might have to ask my mum. But I don't think I have. So let's listen to what it's all about, eh? Shall we? Yeah? Okay. Let's go. Shh.
Psychotherapist and professor of psychology, Dr. Kirk Honda, was featured in a podcast that delved into the topic of imaginary friends. And in this podcast, Dr. Honda makes it clear that imaginary friends are not evil or anything like that. In fact, it is typical of children to converse with figments of their imagination. It is normal and shouldn't be too concerning. It must be reassuring to hear that there's nothing wrong with your child. As Dr. Honda stated, it's normal and shouldn't cause any concern. You think this, and your mind is finally at ease, as you've been struggling to decide as to whether or not you should seek a therapist for your child. But then, one night...
It's getting a bit extreme, isn't it? Going a bit extreme. A therapist for your child just because they're talking to an imaginary friend. Or is it? I don't know. Is it? Depends how often they do it. And to what extent. And what their kids are asking them to do. Eh?
As you pass by your child's room, you hear him talking again with his imaginary friend. You walk away, as you now know that it's perfectly normal for children to do this. You ignore his pretended conversation with Mr. Howdy, his imaginary friend, who according to your son, only comes out at night when everyone is asleep. As you walk away, you can hear his voice echo down the hall. But then, you stop. You are inches away from entering your room when another voice echoes across the hall. You then race to your child.
Fucking hell! Because your thought would be like, first of all, who the fuck is that? Who else is that inside the room? Okay, with my child. Second thought would be like, was that my child speaking like that? Third would be, if that was my child speaking like that, what the F, mate? Are you bloody possessed?
Child's room, as you're certain the voice came from there. You burst into his room, expecting to see somebody there with him. But instead, you find him alone. No one else is there, except your child.
Going like, what's wrong, Daddy? Can't you sleep, Daddy? It's okay. You can talk to me and my friend if you like.
It is at this moment you remember what Dr. Honda stated later in the podcast, that even though it is common and normal to have imaginary friends, there are some instances of children having friends that are frightening. These so-called friends are disturbing.
Look at their fucking eyes. Of course they're bloody disturbing. Look at the state of it, mate. It's a fucking, it's a life-size ant.
And sometimes dangerous. It is cases like these that baffle experts and cause concern among child psychologists. How could a child who's never seen a horror movie,
check out those knees, mate. They're like Rambo knees or what?
Or anything within that genre, come up with such a frightening friend? If what children see and experience serve as a basis for their imaginary constructs, then where on earth did they come up with such terrifying characters? One could say that these imaginary friends are simply that, a product of their imagination. These friends may be scary based on their description, but that's entirely subjective. What may seem scary to us may not be so for a child.
Fucking, like, what the hell does it get? I mean, mate, if my kid started painting or drawing shit like that, mate, I'd be like, what the F? What the hell have you been seeing, mate?
However, how can you explain those instances of children having imaginary friends with names such as Lucifer and dead cousin?
Like, this is clearly, like, kids have seen, like, movies that they shouldn't have been watching or something, you know?
If said children were never exposed to such names, then where did they come from? Unfortunately, the answer to that is unknown. Or so it seems. We may not have an explanation for such odd occurrences, but that doesn't mean we can't consider other theories that are beyond the realm of science. As you'll see in the following story, some of these imaginary friends might be more than just a product of a child's mind. This story, the story of Madison and her imaginary friend, is a personal story that has left Madison traumatized. To this day, Madison remains unsettled by the events that occurred when she was a child. Madison was 3 years old when this happened, and ever since then, this incident continues to haunt her.
Christ, my daughter's 3?
Needless to say, she does not like telling the story. At the age of 3, Madison had many friends. All of them, however, were imaginary.
All of them?
Yet there was something interesting about them. They came in pairs. Her very first set of imaginary playmates were Dana and Steve. Then her next set was Fraga and Kinga. And then lastly, boyfriend and girlfriend. As you can tell, Madison had many friends. Madison was popular. But then, one day, along came a new friend. Callum.
Fuck off! You ain't my friend, mate. You can fucking do one, mate. You can do one. What's your bloody name?
Callum.
Callum?
Unlike Madison's other friends.
What is it?
Callum. Unlike Madison's other
Callum, like kill them, kill them, Callum.
Their friends, Callum wasn't part of a pair. He came by himself and seemed much older. Callum's face was all a blur. Madison.
Oh, fucking hell, mate! Oh, God! Imagine looking at somebody who's got a blurry face. Like, what the hell? When you just say, what's up with your face, mate? Why can't I see your face? Why is it all blurry?
I can barely recall how he looked. His voice, however, was raspy, similar to that of an old man's. Although he was different, this didn't stop Madison from playing with him almost every single day.
See, she didn't judge him. She was 3. She didn't judge. Yeah, you got a blurry face. What of it? Get over it.
Now, imagine having a child who one day tells you that her new friend is an old man. Madison's mom didn't think much of this, as she chalked it up to Madison's naive imagination. Yet, little did she know that Madison's new friend would be the cause of something horrific, something so frightening that to this day, both Madison and her mom are haunted by.
Mate, this is actually quite disturbing. I didn't think it was going to affect me so much.
Callum was a strange friend. There was something else about him that made him really different. Madison couldn't figure this out, as she was too young to realize this difference. However, one night, Madison finally realized what made Callum so special. But unfortunately, how she found out has left her traumatized to this day. Multiple incidents have led to this night. It was only a matter of time before something big would happen, before Madison would experience something terrifying. At first, Callum was nice, but over time, he began to show his true colors. Madison would often be irritated by Callum, who would not leave her alone. He would constantly ask Madison to play with them, even though she's already told him many times that she didn't want to. It got to a point where she would wake up in the middle of the night and find Callum by her bedside, asking if she wanted to play.
Oh God, imagine that.
Wanna play? Wake up. Wanna play? I wanna play.
Oh God, you're freaking me out, Ben. Stop it.
She was eventually pushed to a point where she could no longer tolerate his incessant behavior. Madison was really irritated. She was so irritated that one day she went into a fury and shouted at Callum, telling him that she no longer wanted to play with him. Surely, this would stop Callum from ever bothering her again, she thought to herself. But this outburst had an unintended effect. Thinking that Callum would finally leave her alone, he was now, more than ever, invasive and demanding.
Oh shit.
And the worst part about this new Callum was that he looked different. It was a look that was very displeasing, to say the least.
Fucking hell, please don't have black eyes! Please don't have black eyes!
His face, that was now somewhat visible to Madison, was unlike anything she's ever seen. His eyes were sunken in, and his face was too skinny. It was a frightening sight for Madison, one that would keep her up at night. And it was during one of these sleepless nights that Madison realized what made him different. Madison was lying in bed when all of a sudden,
fuck off!
Callum is at the side of her bed, standing over with a deep gaze in his eyes. There was an awful feeling in the pit of her stomach. She then asked what he wanted. Callum, as usual, wanted to play. Madison, in response, said she didn't want to. But after having said this, she could see in his face that her response did not sit well with him. He was upset, so upset that he does the unimaginable.
Oh God, I don't want to hear it, I do, let's go. Oh, fucking hell! Look at you!
Callum leans in and grabs Madison by the wrist.
I think I'm gonna be fucking sick. I think I'm gonna be sick.
Madison was paralyzed. She actually felt a hand wrap around her wrist. It was at this moment that Madison realized what made Callum so special. Callum wasn't imaginary at all. He was real. And he was out to get her. Madison finally lets out a piercing scream that wakes her mother up. Madison was inconsolable. She wouldn't stop crying. Her mother was confused, for she didn't know why Madison was acting up. But then, right before her eyes, Madison's mom saw the reason as to why Madison was so terrified. Across Madison's room were a pair of curtains that blew open. There was no wind. The AC was off and the window was shut. They opened up as if someone were hiding behind them and came running out of them after being spotted. It was at this point that Madison's mom figured that her daughter was in danger. All those times that Madison complained about Callum were now seen in a different light.
Oh no.
What was once thought to be a figment of her daughter's mind is now viewed as a real threat.
Oh shit.
They immediately left the house and stayed over at a relative's. The following day, she called her father-in-law, who happened to be a priest. She told him of what had happened, and without hesitation, he agreed to anoint their house. Madison's home was cleansed. They returned home, and Madison was never bothered again. Although Callum is now gone, the trauma of Madison's experience is still with her to this day. It was only years later that Madison learned of something chilling about her home.
Oh God.
After doing research on the history of her property, Madison learned that the house next to hers belonged to the Beasley family. And among the Beasleys, there was a father by the name of Callum Beasley.
No.
Callum. Does this sound familiar? Because if not...
Look, I could just imagine his face. Just imagine his face.
Then let me remind you of Madison's imaginary friend, Callum, whose name happens to sound a lot like Callum. Surely, a 3-year-old would mispronounce such a name. It is now clear as to why Madison doesn't like telling the story. It's unsettling and conjures up memories that are overwhelming. Aside from this reason, people might think she's crazy, but that's okay, as this prevents her from having to retell this triggering story. Yet, it's stories like these that are worth telling, as they make us wonder what lies beyond. Science may not have an answer to such peculiar cases, but at least stories like these can offer theories that may explain such oddities, theories that science wouldn't dare consider. Of course, these stories come at a cost. They leave us with a sense of fear.
Yeah.
We become paranoid as we relate these stories to our own experiences. Perhaps we too had an imaginary friend that seemed a little too real to be fake.
Is that somebody's imaginary friend? The fuck is that? Oh,
Maybe
God.
this so-called imaginary friend is still with us today. We just don't know.
Fuck, imagine waking up seeing that. Eh? Imagine waking up seeing that. Look at the state of your head.
It. And if he's a real good friend, then he most likely believes in the motto of staying friends till the end. A motto that I'm sure most of us would like our friends to follow. Now, who wouldn't want a friend like that?
Ow. That was messed up, mate. That was really messed up. That freaked me right out. I gotta do more of those. Mate. They're bloody brilliant. Maybe when we do our next YouTube live stream, when you tell me about your freaky deaky stories, maybe if somebody's got stories like this, hey, let me know, mate. Thank you so much for watching. All right, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye bye.